most, I think just about everybody said it, doesn't surprise me at all, is just affordability, property taxes, things like that. In our country today, not just our state, but our country, it's just life is completely unaffordable.
So today on June 28th, there happened to be a Young Republicans meeting. I didn't even know there was one. I stumbled into it last minute, but I shot down to the Bean and Brew for an 11 o'clock Young Republicans meeting. There were 9 young people there. And in case you're wondering, it was basically kind of the same number of people that were at the Young Democrat meeting the night before. The 2 featured speakers were Adam Byrd and Nathan Little. It was very informal. I sat at the Bean and Brew. They took questions. I then asked if people could introduce themselves and talk about what were 1 or 2 issues that were important to them. After the event, I did an interview with Josh Barnes, and we talked about what people had said were important to them. And I was actually pretty well impressed with what people brought up as what was important to them. And we talk about some of that in the interview. So here is an interview with Josh Barnes, who is the head of the Clermont County Young Republicans, that we did after their meeting at the Bean and Brew on today, Saturday, June 28th. So I'm standing here on June 28th with Josh Barnes, who's the head of the Clermont County Young Republicans, and they just had a meeting here at the Bean and Brew, which I recommend you checking out. So Josh, you just had a meeting, and what were kind of some of the, let's start with, what are your goals as a Young Republican Club for Clermont County?
So my goals with the Young Republican Club are really, just that, to get young people involved in the civic system, particularly the Republican Party. We're kind of a small, close-knit group now, but we're really looking to grow. And, like I said in the meeting, I'm really more focused on quality over quantity. I will take that any day of the week. But right now, we're just kind of in our growing phase, and we're hoping to have more events soon. And yeah, those are really my short-term goals.
So Young Republicans, what is the age range for Young Republicans?
So currently, our age range is from 18 to 30, but, we do have some members who are under 18, high school students who are interested in getting involved. But, our typical age out is about 30, I would say.
And I got, at your meeting, people went around the table and talked about what were some of the key issues that they had. I wrote them down so I can remember. I don't mean to put you on the spot asking you to remember, but right. of the young people, if you can, I know yours. I got yours written down right there. But what were some of the key issues that young Republicans were concerned with in Clermont County, Ohio, and the United States?
Sure. So the one that I really picked up on the most, I think just about everybody said it, doesn't surprise me at all, is just affordability, property taxes, things like that. In our country today, not just our state, but our country, it's just life is completely unaffordable, even though prices are coming down. For people like me, see, I have a master's degree, and I have to pay all that back, and I have a job that doesn't really pay all that much. So, the education system, and just, like I said, taxes in general, like affordability of a house is really just kind of out of reach for a lot of people right now, and I think that's the biggest thing that young people are facing and concerned about. Okay,
and then I had some of the other people, there was it's funny, I thought a lot of the people had questions about just the educational system. Yes. Not just about as it affects them, maybe as a college, you're talking about paying back loans.
Yeah.
But, those planning on having kids in the current state of the education system, do you have any, do you remember anything from the meeting that you thought are your personal concerns with the education system? I guess K through 12 is what people were talking about mostly.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Short-term memory sometimes.
Yeah, I have a notepad, so I'm reading off a notepad.
There you go. I should have brought one. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest concerns that I've heard about the K through 12 system is just the indoctrination that we're seeing in the schools. Education has really fallen by the wayside. Test scores are way down, and one of the primary issues is that all these teachers are pushing indoctrination. Even though that's, I think the legality of that in our state is up in the air, but they still find sneaky ways to get it in there. So that's really affecting K through 12 right now, and I think a lot of conservatives who are looking to have kids are just really worried about, how that's going to affect their future and if they're going to be able to contribute to society later on down the road with such poor education.
One of them was like, am I going to end up having to homeschool? Am I going to do this? But I also say, you can homeschool, but if 99% of the kids otherwise are indoctrinated, it's not going to help a whole lot with that. Now, you had a couple of guests that were office holders. Maybe comment on who were your two guests you had today.
Yes, sir. We had State Representative Adam Byrd. He was our main guest. He has a background in education, so I figure, friend of the YRs, he'd be a good first guest to have. And then we were surprised by Judge Nathan Little showing up. He gave us a lot of insight into the Clermont County court system. So, yeah, those were our two guests.
Okay. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
We're always looking for new members, so if anybody watching this has anybody who's interested in joining the Young Republicans, feel free to get with me, get with Chris. More than happy to have you.
Well, how would they contact you, or where would they find? I know you have a Facebook page, right? So
yes.
Where would they find?
Clermont County Young Republicans. We have a Facebook page. I believe there are several flyers on there with my email and phone number. Text me, call me any day, any time of day.
And I brought up to Josh that the young Democrat leader, J.D. Gallagher, invited me to one of their meetings, and that I would love to facilitate at some point getting a few of them and a few of the young Republicans together to talk purely about policy things, like a few policy things like taxes, or like the state of higher education, or the state of K through 12 education. So Josh is going to talk with his board about that, and but it would be good to have that kind of discussion, I think. And so I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk with me. I appreciated your meeting, and thank you very much, Josh.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, Chris.